We are straight up on the hour right now. We're going to just give it another minute. Mark, take it away.
Good morning, everybody, or afternoon or evening, depending on where you reside. On behalf of everybody here at Dyne365 Pros, wanted to welcome you to today's presentation. I see by the list of attendees, there are a lot of new faces. I can't see you, but I assume you all have faces. Dyne365 Pros is a Microsoft partner. We're headquartered in Southern California. Our mission is pretty simple, just provide the very best advice and service for your business in respect to introducing new efficiencies, increasing your bottom line, and improving overall customer satisfaction. A little housekeeping before we get started with the live presentation. All your microphones have been muted to eliminate background noise, but we certainly want you to participate. If you have a question or a comment, please enter them in the questions pane of your GoToWebinar dashboard. We'll do our best to get to all the questions in the Q&A portion at the end of today's session. There are a couple of handouts for anybody interested in learning a little bit more about us. You can find those in the handout pane of the GoToWebinar dashboard. And also, we're going to have a short poll in just a couple of minutes here. Could you go to the next slide, please, Ken? Thank you. My name is Mark Avis. I'm the VP of Sales and Marketing here at Dyne365 Pros. Today we're going to look at the latest version of Dynamics 365. They call it version 9.0, and there's a ton to see and review in Dynamics 365. 1 hour doesn't do it justice, so today we're going to focus on providing a high-level overview of the solution with an eye to some of those key enhancements that are contained in the current release. If you would like a deeper dive into one or more of the Dynamics 365 apps, whether that's sales, marketing, service, finance, etc., we would be happy to help you later on. You'll receive a follow-up email tomorrow with my contact information, so just let us know what you need. We'll be happy to help out. I'm joined here today by my colleague, Ken Farmer. He's the president of Dyne365 Pros. Ken's going to be doing the heavy lifting, providing a tour of the live Dynamics 365 environment. Could you advance the slide, please, Ken? So if you're new to Dynamics 365, let's talk a little bit about the why of Dynamics 365. So you may know this for the longest time. Enterprise level business solutions have been somewhat siloed. In other words, there hasn't been a whole lot of interoperability or integration between different solutions. For instance, your ERP system didn't communicate with the solution that service and repair used, or marketing didn't integrate with sales, and so on. And this became much more than an inconvenience, but a real pain point that produced a lot of workarounds, redundant data entry, spreadsheets that had to be shared, a lot of headaches. In short, Dynamics 365 eliminates that, providing you with one connected platform for managing your internal and customer-facing processes. Not only that, but you have the freedom to deploy just the pieces and parts you need. Could you click, please, Ken? Thank you. In other words, if all you need is the sales, you just buy sales. If you need sales and service, you buy sales and service. So again, just the parts you need to deploy when you need them. You can always add on later. Dynamics 365 is very process friendly. You don't have to change to adapt. We configure the system to support and facilitate your specific way of doing business. With Microsoft Azure, Internet of Things, and artificial intelligence built right in, your workers can be guided to make the best decisions and take the correct course of action, at the right time. And extensibility is built right in, so you don't have to worry about outgrowing the system. So think about that. You got lead nurture, sales and contracting, customer service, project management, installation, repair, inventory management, finance, etc., all under one roof. So here you see all the processes and what we call workloads that you can manage with Dynamics 365. Again, one united platform for managing your business. So you start with what you need, and then we can add other workloads in a way that makes sense to your business. So let's look at just some of the highlights, the things that Ken's going to walk us through on that next slide. Okay, so there's a great new user interface, faster and easier data entry. The Sales Hub, very cool for guys like me. And some neat tools for you citizen developers out there. A lot of improvements for your admins to make life easier for you. The Outlook integration is the bomb. And again, in a sales role and a service role, your people are going to love this. And then, of course, some information on how to update, schedule your updates for those current users of Dynamics 365. And with that, I'm going to pass the baton to Ken. Ken, take it away.
Thanks. Did we have a poll we wanted to run?
Yeah, we do.
I can kick that off if you want. Sure.
Go ahead. So we're interested in finding out why you're attending today, what you hope to achieve. So there you go. And we'll give you 30 seconds or 45 seconds to fill that out. We'd appreciate it. So you may be here because you're using Dynamics now and just interested in seeing what the latest version looks like. Perhaps you're evaluating new solutions like Dynamics or some other solutions out there like Oracle or SAP. Maybe you're just curious about new technology, or you're just bored and you just love Ken's webinars.
All right. Great. That should do it. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll out now. So as Mark said, just real quickly touch on these bullets before I jump over to the live system. We're going to bounce around a little bit today. As Mark mentioned, Dynamics 365 has grown in leaps and bounds since I got involved back in 2001, 2002. I actually was involved in the beta 1 version. So you know, just thinking about the differences between then and now is huge. But what Microsoft has been doing for the Dynamics 365 platform in the last 2 to 3 years has been fantastic. I mean, they've brought together a platform that you truly can build your processes on, whether it's sales processes. We can certainly configure those in any way that you need them with multiple sales processes for different products, and we can spend several hours on that all by itself. Or you can use it to build out processes that wouldn't necessarily be an out-of-the-box CRM or customer engagement type feature. So you may be tracking equipment for customers and you want to be controlling your maintenance contracts on those. You want to proactively be reaching out to customers to handle those pieces of equipment. Maybe it's medical records. Maybe it's medical devices. We actually have several medical device manufacturing companies that we work with, and we have a solution that we've put together, a nice solution for a good way to start out template for them on that product. So these are all pieces and parts that don't exist generally in the marketplace unless you're spending hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. We can build that on the platform very easily. You get all the Office 365 tools integrated to it. You get SharePoint, you get OneDrive, you get document management, you get even connections to finance and ERP now, as there are 2 finance apps that are part of the Dynamics 365 platform. All of that's good, of course. All of that is something that everybody wants to take advantage of, and the nice thing is you're only buying, as Mark said, what you need when you need it. So that's all an excellent tool. And having said that, I think I'm mandated by Microsoft to say all that. We're going to get into the actual demo now. So there we go. Well, that's Fred. We don't want Fred yet. So we're going to jump over here to here. So this is the new look and feel of Microsoft Dynamics 365. Now, there's a couple of different ways to look at this, and we're going to look at them both. This is the app the web client that you're looking at in terms of Dynamics 365. If you've seen Dynamics 365 in the past, you can see that there's quite a bit of changes that have been made around the cleaning up white space, making sure that the UI is a little bit more consistent, UI, user interface. This would be a standard sales activity dashboard. Sorry, this is demo data. I don't have any goals set up in the demo data, so it's adding this in here for us today. The new look and feel is designed not just to clean up the screen, as you can see right here, but it's also set so that no matter where you go in the application, you start seeing quite a bit more of a clean interface. It's to improve the readability, usability of the web apps, and to help make your data entry a little bit faster. We'll certainly look at that. So the new user interface, and they've got a term, of course, this is Microsoft, right? So it's the unified interface, and that framework is going to be spread across all of the various apps and platforms and form factors that you might be using, whether it's on your iPad, your Surface tablet, your phone, whether it's an iPhone or an Android phone, or for the two of you that still have Windows phones, it doesn't matter. It's going to show and it's going to be represented the same way every time you go and switch platform, right? So if you go from your phone to the web client, you're going to see pretty much the same look and feel. It's just going to scale and it's going to be a little different, right? A little different form factor. We're not going to squeeze tiny little pieces of data into your phone. It's going to be represented a little bit differently, but the look and feel, the navigation and such is all going to be the same. So as we walk through this is one of our demo environments. This happens to be one of our sandboxes. You've got the standard dashboards that you can access, right? So we've got the standard dashboard pieces. One of the things that was actually added in the last version and solidified in this new release is the addition of PowerBI and the ability to add PowerBI elements to this. And we're real excited about PowerBI. PowerBI has been around a couple of years. However, just in the last, I would say 7 or 8 months, we felt real comfortable that the PowerBI platform and app is at the point where people can use it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on PowerBI. I would encourage you to contact us. We can walk you through, but I do want to show you one piece, and that's that if you're familiar already with Dynamics 365, you understand that the dashboards, the analytics can be extremely powerful in Dynamics 365. However, you're limited to the number of elements that you can actually put into a dashboard. We've got a 6-pane dashboard here where you've got a combination of some graphical representations, different representations here, and then you've got your list. Pretty standard stuff. It's been cleaned up quite a bit in this new version with the new interface. However, by adding Power BI into what you do, you have the ability to create really robust reports, and from the reports, dashboards with all of the design elements in Power BI, and then actually bring those into Dynamics 365. And you don't have to bring in just Dynamics 365 data. For instance, we can bring in external ERP data. So let's say you're in GP, Dynamics GP, the old Great Plains, and you don't really need a full integration perhaps to Dynamics 365 for sales, but you do want to show maybe aging, or you do want to show a couple of elements from GP, and you want to have that for your sales team in Dynamics 365. You build a Power BI data set connecting to your GP. You only pull the tables that you need. You model your report, and then you add your dashboard elements, create a little aging, if you will, dashboard for GP, and then you go ahead and share it. Now, I don't have GP. We don't use GP here, but we've done this actually, and in the process of doing it for a couple of customers. Works great. It's fantastic to add to it. What I do want to show you, if you're not familiar with Power BI, is this is what a Power BI dashboard looks like. And you'll see here, we're still in Dynamics 365. All we've done is expose this Power BI dashboard. Again, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. I would love to have myself or one of our consultants take you through it. But you have a lot more real estate. Obviously, you have the ability to bring in a couple of different representations out of the box. These are all out of the box pieces of graphical representation or design elements in Power BI. This, by the way, if you just want to get started with Power BI, and this is all I'm going to say on this, and we'll move on, there are content packs, and you can go and add, for instance, this is the sales analytics for Dynamics 365 content pack. And it's extremely easy to go into Power BI, download that data pack, connect it up to your Dynamics 365 or CRM, and then it builds this automatically for you. It's part of the content pack. I've made no changes to this, but this gives you an example of how to get started quickly on this. And we can open up this whole piece in Power BI, or I can actually drill in to the underlying Power BI report you can see up here just by clicking on that tile, and then we've got the full report listed here. We can go to the sales pipeline, top won-loss deals. This is obviously on our data, on our demo data here, lead analysis, account analysis. So this is extremely powerful for your users, and all you need to do is load the data pack, share it to the users within your organization you'd like to have access, and then go ahead and add it into your Dynamics 365 as a dashboard. Super easy. When you go in here, it now has the capability of either building a Dynamics 365 or bringing in a Power BI dashboard. So again, I could spend an hour or two on this, but we're going to move on. I'd like to show you some of the other just design features because this release was really, from a user standpoint, there was an enormous amount that they changed just from a user interface standpoint to give you a better, cleaner look. You've got some borders now. You've got some, some things that as admins, we love them, but it doesn't necessarily rock our world. And there's in this release, there's a ton for admins as well, and we'll touch on a couple of those. Platform improvements and tool improvements and all of that. But from a user standpoint, the users are extremely excited about the new look and feel. It gives them the ability to get around a little bit differently than they have in the past. And you'll see when we jump over and we look at the actual Sales Hub here in a minute, it's going to be even more important for them. And as Mark says, it really, that's where he lives. He loves it. And it gives you the ability to have a better touch experience. So here's a standard account form. For those of you who've seen it before, you've got better ways of the data is outlined a little bit better. You've got some dotted lines. You've got some other things here that really drive you and show you where you have fields. The other piece that this has that I want to share with you too is one of the biggest complaints we used to have was you'd have a long display here. This could be parent account, blah blah blah. There could be 6 words here, and unfortunately it would start fading out right here, and you'd only get a couple of words, and then you'd have to hover over it to just really kind of get the tooltips underneath it to figure out what it was for. In the new interface now, you have word wrap. So if you've got a long display name, which in many cases is a good thing, because you want to make sure that your users understand what data goes in there other than just the tooltip that you can see across here that's also, of course, configurable. But the word wrap gives you really the space, the real estate to give them truly the name of that field and what it's for. Still have the same thing, the red asterisk is business required. You can't save the record unless that's there. Obviously very configurable. You can see here across the top, we've got a few more pieces and parts. I see the form editor here because in this situation, I'm an admin. When we log in as Mr. Fred Flintstone here in a few minutes, if you see this, I won't show you, but it won't show up. So it gives you the ability, of course, to restrict it from a security standpoint. So again, same basic look. So in terms of navigation, in terms of what you're generally seeing here, it's not a huge change for your users. So if your users are already familiar with how to get around in Dynamics 365 or Dynamics CRM 2016, it's not going to be that big of a change. It's just going to be visually a lot better for them. So we go over here to posts, activities. Those are highlighted and cleaned up a little bit. It's much easier to use and get what it is that you need. You've got a filter capability here on activities right there in the view. You also have the ability, as you see in other areas, to expand this out. And I can go ahead and click that, and it jumps to the full activity list. Jumps to the full activity list, and you can go in and use it from here. So it really gives you the ability to walk through it as you need to. Now it still has what we call the hamburger piece in this version, and I'll show you the hub where this goes away. But you've got the ability to jump to the various sections. Now in my demo, I have field service and scheduled, I have project service and scheduled, I have resource scheduling installed. So you see these pieces on the form, but this is a standard form. I can collapse the sections and get to what I need, or I can just go up here and grab the section that I need to go to and very quickly get to there on the page, or scroll down. So again, these are the same things that you're used to seeing today, and it gives you the ability to quickly transition to a little bit of a cleaner interface for your users. All of your customizations, configurations, and such will come through. You just have to do some form updating and you're good to go. So for instance, I can go up here and I can pick the various forms that are included, just as you can today if you have permissions to those forms. Okay. I just want to call this piece out, process. There are a lot of situations where you have multiple processes that you may be running, business process flows that you may be running, and you can go ahead and switch it. I don't have any set up here at the account level, but I just wanted to show you that real quick. And we've got connect, marketing list, assign. All right, that's all pretty standard stuff. So let me now go back to sales, and we'll just take a look at a contact record here real quick. My active contacts, your views here work pretty much the same as you expect. There should be no issues with that when you do the transition. We're going to open up Jim here. You can see he's got some information tied back to his account, as you would expect, but you've just got some cleaner real estate here, some cleaner forms, and this is really when we demo it, it looks pretty, and users of CRM may go, yeah, that looks cool. But when you get users in front of it, it really starts helping to drive what they need. And we find that those users that have seen it, they start asking for form changes now. Whereas before they just sort of kind of maybe ignored it, or they didn't know where it was, they just kept their head down and did what they did. They're asking for some improvements, some efficiency improvements now that really can help drive your process. All right? So as I mentioned, this is the standard full view of Dynamics 365 in the web. You can see all the different pieces that we have installed here in our demo environment. But let's go back down in here. So this is a sales app that I created for this demo. We'll get into that in a minute. But with this release, Microsoft has introduced the concept of these hubs. Okay, so you may be familiar that as Mark said, you just buy the license that you need. So if I had only a sales license and I clicked on just the sales piece, it would bring up the web interface as expected, as we're normally used to seeing. However, I would only see the pieces that are involved in sales that my license allows me to get to: sales, marketing, settings, because I'm an admin, and then of course some training, which you can do some configuration and certainly add some pieces there. But you see here that we've got your standard sitemap, and you've got the sales pieces and parts exposed so that you can just focus on sales. Now I can also go back and let's take a look at this sales hub. So the sales hub is truly designed for a better user experience when they are looking at, mostly when they're doing things on their tablets, or they're trying to use it on a much smaller piece or much smaller form factor, right? So here is the look, and honestly, we have several customers that they haven't actually been able to release this yet for existing customers, but we've had some new customers that we've brought on board here in the last month or two where this is available when you provision a new system, and they've looked at this interface and really liked this interface a lot more. So instead of having to crawl around up here and get into sales and get into this and get into that, we now have the access tabs here, navigation on the left-hand side. If you've been around Dynamics CRM for a lot of years, we started out this way. We started with a series of basically what was called the left nav pane, the left navigation pane, where that's how you negotiated through the system, right? Navigated through the system. So you just hover over these. We go to dashboards, which is where we are right now. You'll see here also that sales analytics dashboard that we loaded from PowerBI is available. So that it does carry over to the Sales Hub interface. But then I can also go to down here and I can see accounts. So if I click on that, we get to the account layout. And this is the exact screen that we saw before, just reformatted into the Hub unified interface for the Hub. We can pull up now, when we pull up that same account record we had before, you see, again, going back, right? Everything that's old is new again, is going back to those tabs on the form. So before, where we had that little hamburger icon up here where we'd click on it and we'd be able to see the various sections that were on the form, now we have it here in tab format. And this is completely configurable, just as it is in the hamburger. There's a fancier name for it, but we just call it the hamburger icon. We like that, the hamburger interface. But it gives you the ability to just jump to that section in the tab, right? So now, being back in the tabular format, it gives us a lot more, again, because we're dealing with a different form factor. So this is perfect for tablets as an example, because now you're not trying to scroll through the tablet. You can just go up here and select it, get to that section. You can go in here and tap on it and do your editing. So this is perfect for tablets. And even those folks that, we encourage them, it's not really necessarily designed for your web client. Folks are saying, yeah, that's okay, we're going to use it anyway this way. And they're really enjoying it. But if you are using a touch format, this is a perfect way to go, right? So here's contacts. You've got all of that here. You've got, like I said, just same things before. You've got the tabs here. You don't have to scroll way down. It just depends on what you've built out. Details, and then of course, your related records that you used to have to go up and click on the icon here. It would drop down the menu here and you would select. Now in the Hub format, you get to the related area and you can grab any of them right here. I want to go see opportunities here, related opportunities, which we don't have any right now, but we'd be able to go back and grab that. So this is a great new format. Again, we're going back to, you can see here, we're going to sales, and then we can go to the training section if we wanted to. We can go down here for orders, and these are all the pieces and parts that you would normally see, quotes that a salesperson might want to be taking a look at, competitors, any opportunities that might be going. All of that now exists here, and it gives them the ability to go in and take a look at it. Okay. Again, I encourage you, if you do have questions, please use the question pane in your GoToWebinar, and we will answer all those questions at the end. We'll try to get to all the questions at the end. If we don't get to your question, we'll certainly follow up by email, but we're going to try and walk through that. All right. So we talked about the differences. Here's our, Sales Hub. We also have the same thing on customer service, and I want to just touch base on this real quick, because Microsoft has had a couple of different changes over the last several years regarding customer service and how they want to display it. They had the standard web interface, which looks just exactly like you would expect. with the new look and feel. However, they also had something called the, I'm going to get this wrong, the Unified Service Hub, I think was the old name. And now they basically converted it into Customer Service Hub. So this gives you all of the things that you got there in addition to a few more. So for instance, in the old customer service interface, you could go to the Tier 1 dashboard and you could see as a service agent, I would have certain things that are solved to me, certain case that are assigned to me, excuse me. And I was reading resolved and trying to say something else. So you'd have all of your activities, you'd be able to work through this, you can change your time frame, you can bounce into a global filter, you can go to the visual filter and see the different pieces and parts to this. All great. So this is still there, but it transitions into this new hub. So the dashboards are really driven towards that customer service agent sitting there with a headset, working through their cases, talking to customers on the phone, and really trying to resolve there. So it's the thing to remember, and this is going to segue really well into my next little section, is these hubs, these apps are purpose-driven. So from a customer service standpoint, where you're kind of seeing everything, you're seeing if you have a customer service license, all you're going to be able to see at that point is the customer service pieces that you need to see. You can see the full piece of it if you have a enterprise or a plan license that allows you to see customer service and sales and field service or whatever else it might be. But then you've got the ability to really create something that helps to fix things that we've been trying to fix through the use of different forms in the past. And that's that purpose-driven, that role-oriented individual that is here to just handle, I'm in a call center, or I'm answering the phone and I need to create some cases. I need to see the resolution mix on their old cases. I really need to see that. And that's really happening with the use of these apps. And in this case, the sales app that's purpose-driven is called a hub, and the customer service piece is called a hub as well. It's important to know that you see one here for project, and you see one here for field resources as well. These are excellent ways to get your users engaged in the system without seeing a bunch of stuff that you don't want them to get confused at, or you don't want to clutter up their system or anything else. All right. So we're going to go take a look real quick. I'm going to go back to my initial view here, back to the full client, web client. And we're going to go over here into settings real quick. And I'm going to go to apps. So what you have here is a little different representation of what we saw up here, right? So all of these are represented here as my apps. What we also have as a administrator is the ability to create a new app. And this is really where we can go in without any code, build one of those hubs. So for instance, you're looking at the sales hub. You go, wow, that's great, but I need just something for my inside salespeople, right? They're just dealing with trying to convert leads, and convert the leads, they would need accounts and they would need contacts, and then perhaps we want them to create the opportunity for the outside salesperson then to go through and start working on. So the sales hub has just got too much in there, right? It's got quotes, it's got some other pieces and parts perhaps, pointing the customer service hub, of course, but the sales hub. So what we now can do as administrators is we can go here, click on that, it pulls up the app designer. While it's doing that, let me get a sip of water. And it allows us to start building my inside sales, I'm going to call it a widget. It's not a widget, don't call it that. It is a hub. So inside sales app is what we're going to call this. And if you're familiar with CRM, you can see that it's starting to build the pieces of parts for you that you need in the database, right? I can set a description for our lead conversion team. We can add an icon, or we can just use what's there. I'm going to use the default icon. We can use the web interface or the unified interface, right? And I'm going to grab the unified interface, and we'll use the existing solution to create the app. Okay, so this is how we start. We click next, and I'm going to select which solution. So if we've got a couple of different solutions that we built in, maybe with some new entities or something, we could use those. I'm just going to go ahead and grab the default solution. And then I can go ahead and grab a specific sitemap. And I'm going to grab the actual Sales Hub sitemap, because that starts me out kind of the direction I want to go, but it will allow me then to delete the items and remove the items that I don't want to use within my new app that I'm building for my lead qualification people, okay? And for those of you, just a real quick definition, a sitemap is really just a template. So when you looked at the menus and you saw all the different menu pieces on there, that's your sitemap. And one of the powerful things in the new Dynamics 365 platform is that you have the ability to use multiple sitemaps, to edit your sitemaps without having to use some of the really cool tools that the community has produced. You can do it right inside of the application. All right, so I'm going to click done. So what it's done is it's brought in the sitemap that we were looking for. And if you remember, here's all of the different entities that we had included in that Sales Hub, from quote to product to order, opportunity, invoice, all of those things that we kind of really didn't want, right? So I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this. I'm just going to kind of give you the idea. So if I open up the Sitemap Designer, it pulls this up for me, and this was my sitemap for the Sales Hub. Remember, we had sales, we had training, we had all of these pieces. I'm going to remove some of these. I don't want the training piece in there. If they want training, they're going to come to me. I don't want service cases in here. Delete that. I don't need that header in there. So we're going to delete that. I don't need quotes. I don't need orders. I don't need invoices. And I don't need products. Didn't catch it? Didn't catch it. There we go. And of course, I now don't need that header. So this is really all we're going to deal with: accounts, contacts, leads, opportunities, and competitors. I'm going to leave activities in there because they're going to want to create some activities, right? So I'm going to go ahead and save and close, get out of that. I can then go in and do the same thing with our dashboards, and I can go down and start removing the actual entities that are included in it. Now, I removed it from the sitemap so they wouldn't see it, but I can also then just make this a little bit more lightweight for the form factor by removing these. I'm not going to go through and do this right now because it just is a click here and a click there, and it's super easy. I'll show you on one. You highlight it, and it highlights all the pieces of that entity, and I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to remove that. All right, so it goes ahead and it removed the quotes for me. You also have the ability to add additional pieces. So I can add forms, views, charts. I can add additional entities if I choose to. There's all kinds of things that you can do with this. And again, it's all no code type processes. So you can build a purpose-driven app for your users. All right, they can use it on their tablet, they can see it on the web, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to go ahead and just save this, and then you can run a validation step, and this is actually going to give me some errors or warnings. It's going to basically say, hey, competitor doesn't reference a form, they will still see all the forms and views. So I can go through there and remove all that because I removed it from the sitemap. Okay, so I wouldn't worry about that. Then I can go ahead and publish it. Once I publish it, it's then going to be available for my team, and I can go ahead and issue it out, have them connect to it, and then that's all they see. So the ability to add these apps down, I'm just going to pull up the one that I did here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on this, and you can see that it's the same basic interface that we looked at before for the hub, but we've reduced down what's here. I kept products in here, but I left competitors, leads, contacts, accounts, and activities. And you really can just drill in. I want to see the active accounts. I want to see active leads or my open leads. We've got these views listed out here. And then I can pull up that as a qualifier, and I can go in and start working on it. This one is actually qualified. Sorry, I grabbed the wrong one. But you can really see at this point what the power is behind being able to build this without pulling in your developers, without having to write extra code and script, and you can, this is bringing in your business process flows that you had before, which is a new form feature, a new interface for that big thick ribbon that we used to have. Now it's reduced down. I can click on one of these and actually see the pieces and parts included in there, so I don't have to see them in that big ribbon, right? So again, the hub is that purpose-driven app, mostly used for tablets and phones, and it gives you more screen real estate by being able to do it this way instead of by doing it the other way. Okay, so there are a lot of different admin improvements just like that that you can add in. I mean, one of the key things for some power users is the ability to build a advanced find query that will allow you to have a what's called not included set on it. So when you're building your query, you can say it includes this, begins with that, whatever the case may be. But you may want to go in and say, I want to build an advanced find that says, give me a list of opportunities that don't have any activities attached to them. Right now, there are ways to kind of get that, but it's not really what you need. Now you can go in and actually hit the advanced find feature, pull up the list, and I'm not going to take the time to drill all the way into it, but you can pull up that advanced find, which it's kind of funny that advanced find looks pretty much exactly the same as it has for years, but it works. That's the crazy thing. There's some work being done on it now to move things around for you, because I know there's when you're looking for saved items and save views and such, but you now have the ability to go in and say, give me opportunities, and I just need to pull it up so I can prove to you that it's not smoke and mirrors. And then I want to go down and grab the other piece. I'm looking for opportunities that don't have activities, and you can see where it does not contain data. So now we can go ahead and say, give me a list of opportunities that don't have activities attached to them. Okay, so just a real quick thing on that. That's been a request for quite some time. If you are just getting started with advanced find, or you just really don't understand it other than beyond the basics, you can build some pretty robust queries with it. Groupings, being able to, like I said, not include data, look for certain entities with other entities, record types on there. So again, we'll not spend any time on that right now, but that's a huge piece for admins. Other things, there's additional granular security for admins. There's platform enhancements. There's all kinds of things that we could do a full web session on by itself. So we'll leave that for another time. What I do want to touch base on now is good old Fred. So I'm logged in here, if you can see up here. This is Mr. Fred Flintstone. He is actually an employee of ours, and he's been working with us for quite a while. We love to use him in demos. And he is logged in as a user, right? So he's not an admin. He is a user, and he has, in this case, we're looking at his full web client. You can see that we've got all the different field, or the other apps that he has access to. However, when we get into settings, he's not really an admin, so he can't get in and do a lot of the other things in here. So Fred is just a standard user, right? So when we talk about what users really like, the dashboards, the new Power BI dashboards are huge. So you can see that Fred has the ability to launch in, and it's going to take a second because this has been sitting for a while. But it's going to go ahead and pull up that same Power BI report that we looked at before. As an admin, I built it. I shared it with Fred, and now Fred has the ability to go in here and look at this same data. Now, as you would expect, if he has access to the data in CRM, he will have access to it here. and if he doesn't, he doesn't. Okay, you have to be a little careful with what you build out and share in Power BI, but that's a Power BI issue that's easily worked around. Okay, so with Fred as a user, as most users, he lives in Outlook, right? So one of the huge transitions over the years has been the integration between Dynamics 365 and Outlook. We've had the Outlook client, the client for, I don't even remember the name anymore because we moved away from it, but where you had your Outlook desktop and you had to install the plugin. And it was, at the first, it was incredibly problematic. It got better over the years, and the last version of it was pretty good, but it was still dependent upon a lot of internal infrastructure things. So what Microsoft has done is they've really are in the process of eliminating that Outlook, that CRM for Outlook client, that plugin. It's going to be deprecated, and probably in the next version, version 10, it won't be functioning for version 10. You still can use it for version 9, but we really are recommending to all of our clients that you move away from it. Instead, once you set up server-side sync, which is what handles the communication between Dynamics 365 and Exchange, it will go ahead and allow you to turn on the ability to add the Dynamics 365 app for Outlook. And whether you're here, we're just using Outlook Online because it's a little easier in demo environments, but it also works in your Outlook desktop where it will go ahead and load that for you automatically. You don't have to install it. If you're converting over from the plugin, we do recommend that you fully uninstall the plugin and then go to this. But it gives you the ability here now to just go ahead and click on that. And we had this in the previous version. However, they've really spent a lot of time in improving this interface, giving you the ability to do more things here. So here's a tracked email. This dude, whoever, Ken Farmer, sent Fred an email that said, "Hey, Fred, love the webinar. I want to discuss getting our company on Dynamics 365. Smart guy, this Ken Farmer." So Fred reached back out to him, said, "Yeah, thanks for reaching out. How about a call on Friday?" So here we have the new interface for this, and you see that the app gives you so much more information. So it can go in here and say, what was the last activity against this? What's the next scheduled activity? Any recent cases, opportunities, etc. Those are going to be visible to him if he needs it. You can go in here and select, for instance, go to favorites, and just like if you were in your CRM web client, you can go back and say, hey, you know, I know we're dealing here with Fred, but now I want to go look at Jim because maybe Jim's related. I can go ahead and, sorry, that's my demo environment there. I can go ahead now and say, give me a list of, you know, let me see Jim's information. Let me see Coho Winery's information. And this is now working exactly like you would expect it to work if you were sitting in the app. I've got all this information. Here's my timeline. Here's some notes that got posted and some, you know, my opportunity close and any older stuff, emails, activities that perhaps have been delivered here. This interface is so much more powerful than what we've had at any point in the history of the Outlook client. So this looks exactly the same here in the web as it would in your Outlook desktop client. Other items, we can go up here and hit these ellipses. We can create new activity records. We can create new records from here. There's a lot of different opportunities. We've got our quick create menu, so we can hit any of these new quick creates. Cases are not listed on a quick create out of the box, but they can be added here, for instance. This interface for the new app is fantastic, and it's all handled from an administrative standpoint. You enable it in the back end. You make sure that the user's mailboxes are set up correctly, and then you check a box that says add the app, and you can do it in bulk. So you also can set it that says add the app whenever a new user gets to the point where all the pieces and parts are ready for them. And then it will go ahead and enable it, and it will download it and install it either into their desktop Outlook or into their web Outlook. Okay. All right, so we flew through a lot of items. The key pieces here, your new user interfaces, the ability to truly, I think it did kind of work before, but we feel very truly Power BI, dashboards, and elements. So the one thing I didn't point out, if you wanted this little element in a regular Dynamics dashboard, you could very easily set that up. So I could set up a Dynamics dashboard, pick that up, and then from one of these open elements here, we now have the ability to add a Power BI title. So that tile would come from one of the reports, the workspace, my overview dashboard, or my sales analytics dashboard. I could grab the sales leaders by revenue, let's just say. You'll see the representation before you do it, and you can go ahead and enable that there. And these other pieces can be, you know, standard charts, lists, some sort of a web resource, an iframe, whatever it is that you want to put in here. Okay. All right. So we've flown through it. One last thing for those of you who are current users of Dynamics 365, especially online, you should have gotten an email basically saying that you are set up and ready to go. I'm going to increase this a little bit for your update. And it has to be handled by your admin. And the admin goes in the back end, opens up where your instances are, right? This is the Dynamics 365 Admin Center. I thought it was easier to do it by a picture instead of trying to drill into it. Go to your Updates tab here, and then pick the instance that you want. For instance, we've got our production, it's already scheduled. Even for partners, we have to go through this process. However, this is the sandbox that we're using. And sandboxes, you can go ahead and reset your sandbox today, right away. Just a reminder, when you reset your sandbox, it deletes all the data, right? So just keep that in mind. If you have any questions, let us know. But it says update is available. So then you go down here and you click on this bottom area here, schedule your update on the bottom right. It will give you a series of dates that are available. Now, you can't just pick any date. You have to pick a date that's available. I think, you know, you've got up until, I should have looked this up before we talked. They just changed it. I think it's 8 months, 9 months from now until, you know, whenever you want to bring it in. So if you've got some complex pieces and parts, you've got a lot of customizations or configurations you want to change, I would suggest that you set up a sandbox. You mirror your production into a sandbox, and then you go through the update process on that sandbox first. Any of our consultants can work with you on that. That's the standard best practice, whether it's us or other consultants or Microsoft. It's best to do a test update on your sandbox first that has all of the configuration that you've got in your normal. Okay. All right. So I am coming up on the top of the hour. I think we've got some questions I saw come through. So Mark, maybe you can facilitate that, and we will go back and see how we can answer those questions.
All right, take a breath. Yeah, here is a question for you, a good one. Does Microsoft intend to phase out the classic web interface in favor of the new unified interface that you've showed us?
Yes, so Microsoft's whole purpose here is obviously to standardize as much as they can across all of the different apps. This interface here is going through continual change. This is the regular web interface, and every time they do an update, there's maybe a little bit of adjustment to it. But this is a new major push for them to start standardizing the interfaces between all of the form factors, whether it's your mobile client, whether it's a tablet, whatever you happen to be using on. And again, I think, and you know, we've got some NDA stuff, obviously, with things that are coming up that we can't talk about, but the general understanding by pretty much everybody is that the hub interface is probably going to become more and more prevalent as new versions come up of Dynamics 365. With the left-hand navigation now and the tabular forms that you reach, customers seem to like that. Now, like everything else, ISVs are going to allow you the opportunity to either not use this or definitely use this. Depends on your situation, but we definitely are gearing towards this type of an interface, and it doesn't really change what we do in terms of how you configure it, but it does just present a different interface to the user.
Thank you. How will, and I think you touched upon this, Dynamics 365 V8 or earlier modifications port over to version 9?
What we're hearing and what we have seen in a couple that have gone through this is that if you are configuring, so there's two levels of this, right? Configuring is using the tool sets. You can create a new entity, you create new forms, new fields, you build dashboards. Those are all configuration type things where you're using the inherent Dynamics 365 configuration tools, admin tools or user tools to do that. Those should port over with no problem at all. Configuration, where you're adding additional code, or you're calling a different ASPX page for something. There's obviously a million ways that you can have customization. What they're telling us is that as long as you follow the SDK and you don't have anything falling outside of the SDK, most everything should port over cleanly. However, you definitely want to be going in and testing it and making sure, and that's why you want to replicate your production in a sandbox and then go ahead and test the sandbox in an update.
Next question, is there a comprehensive list of all the new features and changes in version 9?
Yes. So if you go to, I don't have the URL right in front of it, but you go to Google or Bing and you search for Dynamics 365 Roadmap, they have a roadmap page that shows you newly released items as well as what's in development and then what might be further on down the path. And you can segment that out by sales or customer service or field service and see what's coming down the pipe. But that's where you really want to, and there'll be links from there to go look at other pieces and parts of what's there.
And what license is required to have access to Power BI within Dynamics 365?
This is more a Mark question than a King question, but Power BI is included with your Dynamics 365 license. My understanding is any of the licenses you're going to get what's called the free version of Power BI. We recommend to our customers that they have at least one license of Power BI Pro, which is at the astounding price. It's going to break everybody's bank of $10 per user per month. You have at least one of those because that gives you the ability to create more complex dashboards. You use what's called the Power BI desktop to really build out your reports and forms and such. So you can do it there with a single license. You can build the complex stuff and then publish it. And once you publish it, your users with the free license should be able to access it as long as their security permissions allow.
All right, well, we are at 11 o'clock West Coast time anyway, so I wanted to thank everybody in attendance. Again, you'll have a follow-up email in your inbox tomorrow. If you have any questions, you need any additional information, a presentation, licensing requirements, etc., please feel free to contact us. We'll be happy to help.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody. Let me show the last page.